in this lesson, we'll create a sort of extending gun in the character's arm. So I want to build a sort of nested gun that's going to kind of telescope out. And that just means that we need to build some cylinders with one kind of larger than the next. So let's start by, instead of creating a cylinder itself, let's create a pipe. And because we're down at the origin, it's going to be already pretty close to where it needs to be, but we'll kind of move it down. Let's increase the radius. Let's increase our thickness. We want to have 3 layers, so we don't want this layer to be too thick. Let's also increase the height. And so increase it to kind of the max where it's going to maybe be able to extend out. And again, we only want this one to maybe extend out maybe that far. All right. So once we've got our pipe built, let's go ahead and quickly add another cylinder here. So kind of show 2 different ways. We can bring the radius of the cylinder up so it fits just inside of the pipe. For the height, we can go ahead, and it doesn't need to extend all the way back in. It just needs to extend just inside of that big cylinder. All right. And then if we add a subdivision along the cap, we can just select those polygons and kind of scale them up a little bit. Let's kind of pull this down a little. So we start to add a little bit more kind of interesting detail. Let's do an extrude. So face, extrude. We'll kind of pull this in a little bit. G to repeat that, and then we'll push this in. We'll push it up a little ways, and then I'm going to go ahead and delete it. Now to make this a little bit more interesting, let's kind of select every other face on this angled part. And then let's do an extrude and pull them out a little. So something like that. Just so it's not just another straight cylinder. All right. And finally, we need to create one more. So we'll create another cylinder. Oops. And we'll pull this one down. And let's make the head of it a little bit bigger. And so I'm going to start with something a little bit smaller for the shaft. Increase our height. And again, it doesn't have to extend all the way into the arm. It just has to extend into this second level. All right. Let's add some subdivisions along the height. And then I'm going to select the faces on the end here. And this is going to be sort of the head of the gun. So let's extrude this out. Kind of like that. Can kind of scale it down a little bit. You can come to the top view and just make sure that it can fit inside of that opening. And I think that opening is actually going to be right here. You can always check it by taking this and just pulling it up and in. So it does fit. And then for the barrel opening, I'll kind of scale this up a little bit. We pull it down a little as well. I'm going to do another extrude. Repeat that. And we'll push it up and in, and we won't delete it. We'll just leave it alone. Now, if any of these pieces are going to be smoothed, we'll want to add extra edges. So you can see how that makes it really, really soft. Here, if we want to kind of make this edge soft, but we don't want to smooth it, we can bevel the edge. So go to Edit Mesh, edge bevel, and then we'll take our fraction amount and we'll take that down to 0.1 or so, something like that. And maybe this one we do want to smooth, and so we'll use our insert edge loop tool to kind of tighten up those edges right inside of there. So when we smooth it, you get something kind of like that. Okay, now we may have to scale it down a little bit because of those things that are sticking off, but it looks pretty good. So now what we can do is take all of these and sort of reverse them back in, maybe scale them as they need to be scaled. You know, and then all of these go back inside of the hand. So this is where they would kind of stick until they telescope back out. So, you know, we could group them in such a way where this moves, everything moves out, and then this stops, and these two keep moving, and then this stops, and then this keeps moving, and eventually it's all sticking all the way out. All right, so that's how we can create sort of a nested telescoping gun inside of the arm. The next thing that we'll do is add some claws to this arm. So let's do that next.